tonight and be able to share with you a few moments on a chapter that has been on my mind for several months. And I was talking with Polly before service that we're going to, I did this, some of this chapter back a few weeks ago in the Bible study, and we're going to revisit again and go to the end of the book and read the last 6 verses or so of this chapter and the story that we will try to bring to you and allow the Lord to speak to you as He speaks to me and allows His Word to touch my heart and help me in my life. Thank the Lord for His goodness and His many blessings and helping us as we go from day to day. I think maybe someone mentioned the Brown family. We want to remember Dwayne Brown and his wife and his family on the loss of their son this week. Very tragic, sad story that has come to an end, and that family does need your prayers as the Lord helps them as we go through this. And as we go to verse 26 tonight, this is where we'll start and try to read through verses 32. I'll just begin reading 26, and this is sort of where the topic of what I have for you tonight will begin. It says that Abner called to Joab and said, "Shall the sword devour forever? Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere thou bid the people return from following their brethren?" And this chapter, somewhere around verses 12 or 13, begins a very interesting story of Joab and Abner, two opposing generals of the armies of Israel. Abner being the cousin of Saul, Joab with David there, and how they have begun, they have came together and decided that they would have a 12-on-12 battle between them, and before it's over and before you know it, things have gotten completely out of hand. Men are being killed so quickly. Joab, as we pick it up here, his brother Asahel has been killed by Abner, and we find at this point where Abner is calling out to Joab that Joab and Abishai are pursuing after him to take him out and to keep the killing going on that has proceeded from that moment on. But here we find Abner is calling out, and as I did the studying this in this verse here in this chapter, they seem to think that maybe Abner had plenty of men with him, that they could have no doubt taken out Joab and his brother at this time. But Abner has got to a point to where he is saying, "Shall the sword devour forever? Shall it go on and keep going on, and how many more are going to be hurt?" And the thought that I would share with you tonight is this same thing. How long shall things go on in our life to hurt one another and to cause pain and suffering? We live in a world today that a lot of things are being said. Things are happening so quick. We live in a fast-paced world. A lot of tension, a lot of things going on. But as I look at this and as I've done studying, the thought that I would come to myself is I want to examine the motives that are in my life, and I want to be able to be pleasing to my Lord and Savior and to do what He would have me to do, not to go basically after the things that I want, but to seek after what God would have for me and what He would have me to do in my life. We see in this story as we begin here at the beginning of the day or earlier as we read this that Abner had proposed that hostilities begin that hostilities would take place, that let's settle this thing once and for all, and let's sort of have a war here, and let's see how it goes. And now, at the end, here we find him saying it's time to cease all of these fightings, and let's call an end to this. During this time, Abner has killed Joab's brother. Many have lost their life amongst one another. It's not a war against people who hate one another, but we really could look at it as a civil war, brother against brother, friend against friend, fighting for their each cause. And how quickly, as we shared a few weeks ago in the Wednesday night service, that how quickly, if we're not careful, things can get out of hand. We have to watch what we say and watch what we do, because the proposals that we make, or the thoughts and the ideas that we have to begin the day, and as we start the day, or start new paths that we go down, as we look, and you would go back into the very first verse of this chapter, it tells of David and how after many years Saul has finally died, and David is now preparing to take over the kingdom. And it says in that first verse that he inquired of the Lord and asked the Lord where he should go and what he should do before he did anything. And it seems that David had learned his lesson through many of the adventures and the stories of David, of how he hastily went forth. But now we see that he has learned to just seek and ask the Lord, what should I do and how should I handle this situation? And I begin to think of Abner and the loss that he has seen over this day, and over the time that has happened here, and the time that has passed, and so many has been cut down short of the life that really didn't need to lose their life. And here, as he is being pursued, he is calling out to Joab in this battle and saying, how long shall this go on? Shall the sword devour forever? How long are we going to keep going after each other and destroying one another? But let's call it a truce now, and let's say and put an end to it, because enough is enough. And I say to myself, I find myself fighting battles. I find myself in situations to where I have to say, Lord, your will has got to be done. Things that we face in our life each and every day, we go through certain battles, we go through things that we have to deal with, and there comes a point to our life to where we, I believe, just have to say, Lord, this is enough. We can't keep going on and on. How long will the sword devour? How long will this battle keep going on, and how many more people will be hurt? And the Lord wants to heal us as his people. We live in a world, and as we see things, and as we read things, and you hear one another, people going after one another, and sharing their opinions, and trying to bring their point out, this is the way it is, or you got to see it my way. But in all reality, the Lord is trying to share with us that we need to be working to bring God glory to this world. It's not about what I think. It's not about the thoughts that I have, if they're not in line with God. But I want to be able to please God in all that I do. The battles and the things that we face, and things that I decide occasionally in the morning, and I look back at it at the end of the day, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. I should have given it more thought. And here we find people at a very difficult point in the day and time that they're living. Something that started out with just 12 on 12, and that would be it. Now, many have been killed. Many have been hurt. Things got out of hand so quickly. Things got out of hand and began to go forth more and more. And as it's building up to this point, and as you study the scripture, all-out war is getting ready to break out. Just within just a matter of a day, a short period of time. And Abner is calling out to Joab and saying, I know I said this at the beginning of the day. This was my idea, and they both agreed to it. But I think it's time to put a stop, and let's stop this before it goes any further. Lord, help me in my life to recognize points when I find myself in situations that I could say things or do things or make decisions that would hurt someone or cause pain in someone's life, to say, Lord, let me stop right now and help me in the decisions that I'm making, because I found myself a lot of times, and it seemed that things got out of hand so quickly, realizing that, I thought that I could handle it, everything was going to be okay, that I could get through it, and it was going to be fine, but before you knew it, everything seemed to be falling apart. And I have to step back and say, Lord, it's got to be your will. It's got to be what you want in my life. It's got to be your will to pursue what you have for me in my life, because these two are at this point in this story that things are really in a tense situation. And it says in 27, and Joab said, as God liveth, he said, unless thou hadst spoken, surely then in the morning the people had gone up, every one, from following his brother. And Joab is saying in this one, his speech is saying, this was your idea to begin with. This was your idea to begin this thing. And Joab went along with it. He went along with this, but yet he's recognizing that it was Abner, and Abner is trying to put a stop to it. It says, and Joab said, again, this was you, Abner. You were the one that made this proclamation to do these things, and now look at the situation. But we see Abner and Joab at a point where they are discussing things, and they are trying to work these things out, and they want this thing to come to an end. And it says, so Joab blew a trumpet, and all the people stood still and pursued after Israel no more, neither fought they any more. And Abner and his men walked all that night through the plain and passed over Jordan. And here this is sharing with us that Joab made the proclamation to blow the trumpet and say, this is as far as it's going to go. This is as far as this battle needs to go. This has been a tough day. We've lost many people, but it's time for us as men to step back and to let cooler heads and cooler minds prevail over this situation. The heat of the moment, the heat of the battle has really gotten out of control, and it's up to us to stop it at this moment. And it's up to us in our lives. It's up to me as I go forth in my life to maybe step up, even though maybe it was someone else that started a situation, someone else that caused the situation to intensify, for me to be able to handle that and say, enough is enough, and we can turn it over, and we can let things die down, and we can go forth in the moment. As we go on, this story keeps going forth, and in the next chapter, Joab will even go after Abner to destroy him, but at this moment, they realize that it's time to stop. A realization of power trying to take control, a situation where people are all out of control, out of wits, fighting amongst one another, going back and forth, fixing to just destroy everyone in their path, all because two got together and said 12 on 12 will battle, and let's see who wins. And before you know it, everything gets out of hand. Lord, help me in my life to realize that in the battles that we face and in everything that we go through in this life, if we're not careful, things can get out of hand very quickly. Things that you face, decisions that you make, decisions that you go after in your life, and the things that you decide to do. If we're not careful, it can get out of hand quickly, and we can cause a lot of hurt to a lot of people. As we talked after this Bible study, I talked with different ones, and we talked about just the realization of life and how many people in this day and time, how many people that you could talk to that started off the day with intentions of thinking things were a good idea, thinking it was a good idea to go out and get drinks, drink a lot, get into an automobile, take that automobile and get on the road. And before you know it, lives are lost. How many people do you know that in family situations have started off the day, or things have built up from day to day, and thought, this might not be a bad idea to pursue after this, or to pursue after this or that. And before you know it, families are torn apart. How many times have we heard stories of domestic disputes, of things that just got out of hand so quickly, and before you know it, at the end of the day, hurt, death, tragedy has taken place because of the escalating presence of things getting out of hand so quick, and how they didn't put a stop to it at that moment. Still, as this story was written thousands of years ago, still today, we as humans, we as men and women, we face battles each and every day. We face choices each and every day that we have to make the right choice. We have to pursue after what God would have us to do in our life. Because before you know it, if we get away from God and we get within our own intentions, our own desires, not seeking after what God would have us to do, before you know it, we can wind up hurting ourselves. We can wind up hurting people, destroying people's lives, causing hurt, causing pain. Even in the Christian world and the church world that we live in today, we have to be on guard of things that we say and things that we have on our mind, because we are brothers and sisters in the Lord in the day we live in. And your salvation and your love and your hope in God is very important to me. I don't want to be one to get within myself to say things, to do things, to hurt one of my brothers or one of my sisters, but to be someone that would encourage those who I serve the Lord with, and encourage them to know and let them know that I am with them. I'm not out to cause civil war. If you see things this way, a little bit different than I may see them, that's okay. Let's serve God together, and let's work together in the love of the Lord, because I believe the enemy wants to use anything that he can to cause division, to cause all-out civil war in the world that we live in the era of the church that we live in today as Christians, as those who are serving God. I think that the enemy would love to see an all-out civil war break out amongst God's people. And if we're not careful, and if we're not obeying and fully seeking God, things can get out of hand very quickly amongst one another. And I want the Lord to help me in my life. I've prayed and I've asked the Lord, God, it's got to be your will. It's got to be your way. Help me to push my thoughts and the things that I need help with aside, and to love people, to care for them, and to know that you love everyone in this world today. My brothers and sisters of other faith, my brothers and sisters within this faith, my brothers and sisters within different denominations of the world that we live in. God, help me to work with them. Help me not to be one that would cause division, cause destruction, cause mayhem to begin to take place. But let my life be an example to others that I love you and know that you're in complete control. And God is in control tonight. God is in control of this world. He's in control of every situation that's going on. We face a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that we sometimes don't understand, but I understand that God still loves me and He still loves you. And He wants us to be able to work together. He wants our motives to be the motive of God. It's all about you. It's not about the way I see things, or it's not about the way I think things should be, but it's about what you want in my life and what you want in this world today. It helped me to be able to reach people and to love people. Do not want to hurt, destroy anyone that we come in contact with. There's a lot of things going on. And we recall the story of Abner as Asahel was chasing him back along verses 12 and 13. You can read the story if you're not familiar with it. Asahel was very quick. He was very fast on his feet, and he was able to catch up with Abner. And he was so intent on taking him out that he didn't heed the warnings of Abner. And as Abner said, turn to the left or turn to the right. You need to make a decision not to follow me anymore. But Asahel got so caught up in this that he was ready and he wanted to destroy Abner for what was going on. And in return, it cost him his life. And here it brought much more pain and suffering. And as we see the story, as we picked it up here, as I begin to read, things got out of hand so quickly. If we're not careful in the world that we live in, and if we're not careful in the things that we do, in the life that we live, the enemy can take situations in our life. The enemy can take situations that we face each and every day, and he can allow those things to get out of hand so quickly, and before we realize it, we don't know what has happened, we don't know what has hit us, and we're trying to get our thoughts and minds together. And as we say, and we hear stories each and every day on the news of how things got out of hand, and how things got out of hand quickly. And maybe at the beginning of the day, it was not meant to be that way. It wasn't meant to happen that way, but it happened that way. And each little thing led to more and more and more. And we have to put a stop to that, and we have to say, Lord, your will be done in my life. And this is the cry that Abner and Joab, after they have seen all of this civil war begin to take place, and no doubt looking, as I try to examine and see what they're seeing, that it's just escalating and going to get worse and worse and worse. But these two finally come to a point where they say, how long is this going to take place? How long will the sword devour? Lord, help me in my life to say, how long will things devour? How long is the sword going to devour? Help me to stop and step back and look at the situation and say, enough hurt to other people, enough hurting those who I love, enough of saying words that will cause hurt and discouragement upon other people. Enough of me bringing the sword out and sort of saying things and doing things that would cause someone to fall along the way. We look at this in this story as a battle of people who are actually fighting with the sword and killing one another and going against one another and building up more and more hatred and wanting to just take each and every one out. We see this as a battle of a physical event. But here in the day and time that we live in, we find ourselves fighting the spiritual battle that we have to be careful of in living our life, because the enemy wants to stir up problems. He wants to stir up situations. He wants to cause division amongst us. He wants to cause pain and suffering amongst God's people. But the Lord is calling us, and He is sharing with us through His Word, how long will the sword devour? How long will all of this take place? And God is able to help us in the day and time that we live in. Say, Lord, help me to give us the courage to say it has to stop. And I have to get focused back on who God is and what my motives are, and putting my trust in the Lord, because we live in a world that our motives and our actions can be so quick, and we can lose the train of thought of what we should be doing and who we are, and we get caught up in the things of the world and the things that we're facing each and every day. But the Lord can help us. God can give me the strength. And as I share with you, I'm not pointing fingers at no one tonight except this person here, because of the battles and the things that we see going on. But God is able. God is faithful to bring us through. God is able to help us to make the right decisions as we go and as we face things tomorrow morning, as we face things this week. Lord, help my mind to be focused in on you, to allow you to lead me and to guide me and to direct me in the things that I should say, the things that I should do, and not find myself at the end of the day saying, why in the world did I make that decision? Why in the world did I do that? I could have done things so much differently. I could have done things, and things could have been so much better if I'd have just went in with a little bit of a different attitude and the help of God in my life. And there has been days that I have done that. There have been days that I have shared with my wife and talked with her, and I thought I had it together this week. This was going to be a great week. I had it in my mind. Everything was good, and I had it under control, and everything was fine. Nothing was going to defeat me. Nothing was going to get out of hand. I was going to handle it all. And before the second day of the week, it had done all fell apart. That's how quickly things can happen. I don't know about you, but it can happen that quick to me in my life. I'm just being honest with you. It can happen. As sure as you say it, it's going to happen. And then we find ourselves repenting and ask the Lord to help us again. And I'm saying that just because with a sincere heart, I want to do my best. I want to be the best person that I can. I don't want to say the things that would hurt someone or discourage someone. But sometimes the difficulties of life and the pressures of life and everything that we're facing, the enemy wants to seem to creep in and cause division amongst one another. And we have to find ourselves saying, Lord, help me, and asking for forgiveness, and saying, sharing with other people, forgive me for being that way, because it's just, it shouldn't have happened that way. And the Lord helps us. And I'm thankful that in my life that the Lord has been faithful to me to help me to realize that, I need to ask for forgiveness. I need to ask people to help me along the way, to love them, to care for them, and to be an example that the Lord would have me to be, because I don't want the sword to devour forever and ever and ever. I want healing to take place. I want love to be in control. When decisions are made to begin the day that wasn't a great decision, I'm thankful that God has been faithful to me and helped me and delivered me out of those situations and helped me to see His glorious love in my life and His care for me. And I want the Lord to help us as we live in this world today to be aware that we face so many things. As I've shared, like I say, I'm on social media. I enjoy getting on there and looking and posting things and reading and doing things, but there have been times when I have just made certain comments, and before you know it, things have gotten out of hand, and I just have to delete it and say, I'm not going to do that again. You have to be careful. I mean, things, just one little comment can throw everybody in turmoil. And it's just nothing really meant to do that. But that's the world that we live in. People are on edge, I guess. It just seems that so many are on edge and so many are worried about things, and we have so many things going on, and our minds are distracted. Things are out of hand in the world that we live in. But God wants to bring it back under control. This story here, 2 Samuel chapter 2, has so many points, and I try to read it and study it in my mind and in my heart, and I try to allow the Lord to speak to me. But this is what He was sharing with me this week. Lord, help me to be able to have my motives in the right way and in direction of what You would have me to be, because it's all about God. It's all about His love. He's in control, and He has everything the way He wants it to be. I just got to put my trust in Him. And it's hard. It's difficult at times as we go through life. But as we make those decisions to trust in Him, and as we make those decisions to say, Lord, I've got to make the right decision this morning, and I've got to follow along Your will in my life so that I can be pleasing to You, and so that the motives that I have in my life are to glorify You, to glorify who He is. It's all about God. It's all about His love to each and every one of us tonight, to send His Son to die on a cross so that we could receive salvation, so that we could be with Him for all eternity. That's what He wants. And as we fight these struggles and as we fight these battles, it's good to know that we have someone that we can turn to each and every day. Allow the Lord to help you in your life. Hope and pray that no one is fighting battles, no one is going through situations that is causing problems in your life. But when we do face those things, the story tells us that we can put a stop to it, and we can turn to God, and the Lord can help us to prevail over those things, and no more hurt, no more pain, but to allow His love to be proclaimed in the life that I live. I hope that I have shared something with you tonight. I'll just share with you these stories as I speak to you and as I share with you. It really is all about me and my life and the experiences that I have. I want to share with you because I need God. I need His help. I need His love each and every day. He's been faithful to me. He's been good to me. But yet we still find ourselves at times struggling. And we go to His Word and see ourselves in His Word and how it applies to our life. And I try to apply it to my life to where the Lord can help me and the Lord can minister to me and I can help someone else. But may the Lord bless you. And Byron, I thank you so much for allowing me to be able to speak. And hopefully something's been said. God bless you.